Our guest today is an expert in personal branding and marketing. Please help me to introduce Aziza.
Aziza 𝐦𝐨𝐬 here. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet you. Well, I met you a long time ago, but
Yes.
It's nice to see you again.
Yes, nice to see you again. She's an expert. Aziza, so nice for you to come and sit with me today.
Of course, Jonathan. Anytime.
Yes, yes. So tell everyone, how did you get started in marketing and personal branding? Let's talk a little about your experience.
Yeah, very interesting start. I started out of college in a sales job in a company of 3 people where we had no marketing. So I was actually doing a phone cold calling sales, and we didn't have a marketing team, so I needed another way to reach people. I was very stuck in just with the phone, so I was really finding other ways to send that message to people. And I just got into marketing, started learning more about it, went on to work for another company in private aviation, started really getting hands-on social media, learning more about it, and really got obsessed with it. I fell in love with it. I found it to be an art and science, and much more than what I would say like an outside person would look at it. It's just like, this is marketing. Some people think of it just sending flyers in email or putting up banners or something like that. I find it very, very interesting and intriguing, and I take it with a grain of salt.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. Marketing can be so confusing to, like, when I speak to a lot of clients and things like that. What can marketing be defined as? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's the art and the science of telling a story. That's how I look at it, right? So every company has a story, and marketing is storytelling. Think of Starbucks, right? They have a story of the way you feel, the way you hold the cup, the way it makes you feel, and they continue to tell that story throughout everything they do, right? When you look at the menu, when you hold the cup, when you walk into the coffee shop, the way that the kind of people that hang out there, all of that is part of the story. So every company, I think, is just needs to find a story first of all, and then find a way to tell it.
Would you say that, like, marketing in every company, every industry needs a marketing department?
Of course, 100%. I think marketing is an essential part of an organization, and I think it's actually 70% of the business, if not more.
Wow, that's a huge number. What industries have you worked in recently or before?
Yeah, so I work across many different industries. So I started in private aviation, right? I went on to work in small business space, right, as a consultant then. I was working for a lot of the med spas, chiropractors, dentists, so they're much of the smaller brick and mortar type businesses. Then I went on to work at an agency as a media buyer, so really seeing that e-commerce side, that internet side of marketing. How do you apply the same tactics but online? And then across that, I went into like the weight loss space. Right now I'm in healthcare. I dabbled in B2B space where you market to other businesses, and in like the recruiting and technology space.
Wow, that's interesting. And that's very relatable as well, especially to a lot of people that are going to be watching this. You know, we specialize in aesthetics, and a lot of people that are watching this are in the aesthetic industry. Are you familiar with the aesthetic industry? Have you tried any of the products before?
I love the aesthetic industry. It's my, I live and breathe beauty.
What's your favorite procedure?
I don't have a favorite procedure. I hate them all. I just like the way they make me look.
Yeah, I can definitely understand, like, ever since the pandemic, people are starting to notice themselves more and starting to ramp up in that industry. As a business owner trying to build a book of business, what are some tips they can follow, some general tips to help their marketing?
I think find your unique selling proposition. Define what's different between your services and your competitors. Define what's really, is it the experience? Are you giving the fluff pillows and the blanket? Does it smell a certain way there? Is it a no-wait experience? Is it seamless booking? Like, what is it? Because at the end of the day, it's the same product they're using, right? The same machines. And different person performing it, and there's a different logo on top of them, right? So now you need to create an experience, right? Because beauty procedure, I think it's expensive. When you go in, you want to feel pampered. You don't want to feel pain. You're spending money. So it's like, how do you differentiate from one person to the other? Like, what is special about it? So that's the story. Once you figure out your story and your unique selling proposition, you need to figure out 1,000 ways to tell it. So, and you can tell that story everywhere, really. And I think I would start with social media, especially these days, right? You start telling that story on social media in the most unique, authentic way, and then you need to create a community around that story. So how do stories spread? Stories spread from a marketing, right? So from a marketer of a company to a consumer. But then that's a story that's told. That the story that's spread is spread by the consumer. So as a marketer, you can't spread a story. You could tell a story, but who's going to spread it are your customers. So I would say find a story, tell it in a way that is appealing, tell it in a way to a person who has the same worldview as you, right? So, for example, if I value time and I want to be in and out quick, that's my worldview. Other people value, I want maybe something on my hands, like I want a hand mask while I'm getting a procedure, then I value that, then that's my worldview. So you just need to figure out who your audience is, and they should match who you are, right? So, and give them that experience, and the story will spread.
That's so defined, so much perfect for a lot of these companies that are going to be watching, because I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of them, right? They have great services, they have great product, but it's like people don't know the story behind it. They're not connecting and following them through that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would definitely, like, if I had a place of, like, an aesthetic place, right, or some sort where, because I think at the end of the day, the story that they're telling is that everybody should feel confident, right? So at the end of the day, you want to feel confident, you want to love yourself, you want to fall in love with yourself. So that's the reason why you do a beauty procedure. And you want to better yourself, whether it's better in your skin, better in your hair, better in your self-care, whatever it may be, you're doing that. So that's the story. So I think creating an environment of sharing is also very important, especially in this business. It's very hard to tell a story about me getting a plastic surgery or me getting an injection, right? If I didn't have an experience that comes with it, right? If I just went in and they're like, in and out, you're good, you paid $600, but like you're good to go, you know, it doesn't feel very personalized. I think creating a space of sharing and an opportunity to share. So I think if I had like an aesthetic space, I would definitely include some kind of Instagrammable social media corner of a very hip, unique place where people can take a selfie, where people can share, you know, where people feel like they want to create content in there, you know, just feeling beautiful or in recording and like showing that experience.
She's dropping fire. Yeah, when I go to some of these companies, as far as like restaurants or like really popular things in Miami or in across the world, they have these Instagrammable moments that I want to be a part of. Everybody's sharing it. Everybody's having fun. I want to have fun like them. That's why I want to be in there. So that's such a great point you made.
Right, it doesn't cost a lot to create it, right? It's just a corner of inspiration.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So how important is social media? What are some tips that you can do on social media to increase engagement?
I think social media is the number one most important thing that you can do in your marketing strategy for, especially in the aesthetic space, right? And I think making it as engaging as possible and showing people what they want to see, bringing value. I know everybody talks about value and providing value, but a lot of people really struggle in showing value, right? So I think the first thing you need to do is really figure out what the pain points of your customers are and what the problem is, and showing that problem. As a customer, I would say, I don't know exactly, but I would assume that the problem is, I don't understand why you're the best. I'm scared, I don't know if I feel comfortable, I don't understand your experience, I don't understand the procedure, I don't know how it's done, what's used, how long it lasts. So I think explaining those problems and providing solutions to those problems in a short clips of 30 seconds or less in a way that is shareable. Our reels are really hot right now, right? TikToks are really hot. So I think those are the tools that social media gives you for you to be able to spread your content to people who are not your followers, so to say. So then they start engaging with it and following you. There are many ways to build engagement and following on Instagram. I think we could get into like a whole separate topic for that.
For sure, for sure. Is SEO an important factor? Is that something that really is important in marketing?
I think it is. So I think people really do everything when it comes to research, right? They look you up online, they go on Google it, look you up on social media. So SEO is an investment. It's not going to be done overnight, but you have to be in a place where you're comfortable spending money every month for somebody to work on your website, for search engines to show it. And again, Google is changing their rules all the time. Now it's all about how much time they spend on the page, and how much they engage within the page, rather than just stuffing in keywords like it used to be. So really, again, same thing as social media, but you're on a web page, so you're providing value.
Nice, nice.
It's an investment.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It takes some time.
So you would suggest not doing that until you're maybe a good point in your business?
Yeah, I think it depends on the budget and the capital you have to get started. If you're in a place where you're getting consistent business from word of mouth marketing or social media marketing or Google ads, then you should definitely start investing into SEO, because it's really important. A lot of people start with a website kind of backwards, and then they're like, all right, now I need to do marketing. But I think it's important to have a website, 100%. But I think having a booking system is more important for convenience than just having a website with your logo. And you know, if it doesn't provide any value, don't put money into it.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you're not going to invest in your website and really make it something that a person can use as a tool to navigate services, to understand more about procedures, or to read a blog, then there's no point of just putting a picture of yourself and an address. That's what a Google listing is for.
Definitely understand that. So I get a lot of calls from providers once they've been working at Spa for like 10 years or so, or a couple years or so, and they're ready to go on their own. What are some tips to really build your personal brand, even if you're outside on your own, or you're at a company and you really want to just build who you are?
I think the personal brand starts with who you are when you're at the company, not when you're going out on your own.
Gotcha.
So it starts with your relationship with your customer. And a lot of the time, the customer doesn't go to a place because of the place. It's because of the person who is working on it. So that's the relationship that you need to build and continue to build. So I would suggest creating a relationship with your customer, getting their contact information, connecting with them on social media, whatever it may be, but just building that relationship and understanding that this relationship is going to last years and years, and it's going to blossom throughout.
Great. And that's a good point, because you're building a brand, right? You're personalizing yourself. People want to know you. So building that through the steps and getting to know them on that personal level can help you to gain retention.
Right, so that's where your personal brand starts. And then I think the next step is like really understanding what you provide, your value, your story. So what is different about you than another injector? Or what's different about you than another nurse? And what are you passionate about that you express into your work? And that's the differentiation factor that's going to continue to come to you.
Great. That's good. Now everyone says marketing is like a magic pill. That's what clients think when I talk to them. Tell me, how long does it take for a campaign to start to see results, and what can you expect?
So I think it really depends on what campaign and what channel we're talking about, right? So if we're on social media and the campaign is good, it can take 24 hours to start getting results.
Yeah.
It depends, but again, it starts with testing, it starts with understanding your audience, and like I said, it's an art and a science. The art is what you show, and the science is who you show it to. So, and all of that connects with the story that you tell them. If you're telling a story to somebody who doesn't relate to it, they're never going to buy it. If you tell a story to somebody who wants to hear it, already believes in it, and just needs somebody else to say it, they're going to buy.
Yeah, and now I've heard from different people, when a customer repeats and buy over again, they feel great about it, they know they made the right decision. How big is it to give clients a lot of information for them to make the right decision, and how much of a test of time is it for them to keep buying again?
So I think for customers to buy, there needs to be an education part where it's called nurturing marketing, right? So when you market somebody and they first follow you, they don't know who you are, but they were interested in what you had to say. So they agreed with you at some point. You said something that got them more interested, but now it's not like they're ready to go and give their face up for a trial, right?
Yeah.
So from there on starts your work, which is part of your personal brand, your relationship, your results. They're looking at your work, they're looking at your results, and they're looking at what other people are saying about you. So the first thing that people are going to trust is their own experiences, right? The second thing that they're in their own words and their own beliefs. The second thing that they're going to trust is what their friends and family say. And the third thing they're going to trust is what others say that are like an influence to them. So it doesn't have to be an influencer, but somebody who they trust or somebody who they see as a person of authority.
Okay, nice. Those are the 3 steps. Wow. And that's amazing because that's definitely true. I go off my own experiences when I make purchases in a store and things like that. And then I trust other people. I ask for reviews, Yelp, things like that. So you're definitely right and on point with that. I agree.
Yep.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about influencers themselves. A lot of companies are starting to move towards this model, hire people that have like a following engagement on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. What would be your advice on that?
I think you have to understand the influencer and almost been following them yourself.
Gotcha.
In order to analyze their audience, if it's the right audience. Like I mentioned before, and I'm going to keep saying it again, it's all about the worldview. Do those people believe in the same thing that you're saying already? So you cannot convince someone ever to believe otherwise. And that's why I think political marketing also comes into play here, right? When you cannot reconvince somebody to think otherwise. So what you do is you continue telling them what they already believe in 1,000 different ways, so they feel like you get them. So that's what you need to do with influencers. You need to find people that already are like you, that are using you, that love you, and maybe they have an audience that would feel the same way, so they just need to share that with them and tell that with them. So when you work with influencers, it's important that there's that relationship, that match there, and that the way they tell your story is also in a way that you would tell it. Obviously, they're your customers, so they should be able to tell your story right. Definitely get content rights for it, and so you're able to utilize that same content that influencer created if you are working with them within your paid campaigns. So that way it looks very organic.
Nice. I didn't even know that. That's a good point. You want to be able to use that again.
Yeah.
They're only using it, and you're kind of losing out on your money.
So if they're using it with their audience, you want to be able to also, if you ever want to run a marketing campaign, you already have content to run it with.
Nice. What are some simple tools that everybody uses at a company or is building a brand should use that you can suggest?
I think tools, are you talking technology tools?
Yeah, like it could be simple apps they can use or any tools that you've used in the past that everybody, like the basics, should have.
Yeah, so I have actually a whole list of the tools, but I think Canva is one of my favorite tools.
Yes.
It's very easy to use. You can create graphics and things like that. But again, I see a lot of aesthetic companies creating horrific graphics. And it's funny because you're an aesthetic company, so you're supposed to be aesthetically pretty, but it's not. So I think if you don't have that skill set, definitely outsource it to somebody who does. And it's okay not to have that skill set. Sometimes you can be great on the face and you can be great on humans, but you can't maneuver the computer types, right? So that's a different skill set. But definitely those are really simple. I like Adobe, the Lightroom also is my favorite for like filters and like writing photos and things like that. But I would say number one tool, everything is lighting. Just have good lighting and everything looks better.
Nice. That's a good point. Lighting is very important. If the picture doesn't look good, people skip over it.
Doesn't matter how much you edit it, it's just not going to get it.
Yes. Is it, now I hear a lot of times you gotta post 4 times a day, you gotta make sure your content's all over the place all the time. Is it important to post that much or does it matter?
Of course it matters.
Yeah.
You should post as much as you can, but you can't exhaust yourself. Also understand your capacity, capability as a human. If you have, there's like this workbook that, not workbook, but like a worksheet that I go through of identifying the unique selling proposition, identifying who you are, doing a statement of like marketing statement, right? And when you go through the exercise, you can really extract a lot of social content and a lot of social storylines and themes that you can share. And then once you have those themes, it becomes easier to share more often because you'll get stuck in your head thinking about, I need to post 4 times a day and I only post 2 days and start beating yourself up. I think it's important to be consistent, however much you can allow yourself to be consistent. So if it's 3 times a week, it's 3 times a week. If it's every day, then it's every day. If you can understand your capabilities and budget abilities to kind of hire someone else to kind of be on that, that's great. But if you have, the only way you can reach consistency, if you define your themes, your storylines, and your selling like value prop, that's how you can continue to tell that same story over and over again in a different way.
That was a very good point also. Now, being in marketing for so long, how important is continuous education? And does the marketing trends change as time goes on?
Oh yeah, they change I feel like every day. There's new technology comes out every day. Google changes rules. Facebook changes the rules. There's new social media platforms. So definitely continuous education is really important. I think it's important to be on top of trends and understand where people are. I have like every single social media platform just because I'm a marketer, so I want to know what's everybody doing on each one of them and what's going on, where are the cool people at. But as a business owner, I think it's just important to understand where your customer is. So the first thing I would say is just talk to your customers and ask them, so what social media do you use? Like, what's your favorite, thing to share, or like, who do you follow? And I think that's important to understand. As you gather that information, you're going to see a pattern. If you write it down or make note of it or survey them, whatever it may be, you're going to start seeing a pattern. And when you see a pattern, you need to engage within that pattern. So whatever they're doing, you need to be doing. So if you're doing what they're doing, you get sucked into their community and you start understanding them more. So of course, it's the marketer's job. It's hard to do it as a business owner, but if you can hire somebody who can do it for you, that's great. If you can't, then you need to be part of that community, wherever they are.
So that data collection, that's a good point. So that data collection, as a business owner, you should be collecting that from your patients all the time.
All the time, right. And then you need to have an adequate and proactive way to store that data and analyze it, right? So I'm not talking about getting a huge BI tools and charts and analyzing this, but I think if you have a survey that you give out, stick with the same platform and make sure that survey syncs automatically into a Google Sheet or wherever, where you can kind of view it all at the same time, and just make a time in your calendar, 30 minutes in 1 month, just to review that data. But just make sure that you're looking at it, not just collecting it.
Oh, definitely. That's a really good tool also, because by that data, you can increase your sales by so much percentage just by analyzing what people that are doing that you're serving.
And what you mentioned earlier, when I first came in, if you can figure out what the problem is and you can solve that problem, you're golden. You're in business. You're ready.
Yes. Being a marketer using all these social platforms, what are the top ones? What are the hot ones right now?
Well, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of social platforms that are hot for different things, and I've played with recently LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok, and those are extremely nice. My go-to, the biggest one, is always Instagram and Facebook, but again, it depends on the market. If we're talking aesthetic space, definitely great tool. I think TikTok, just mass majority. I think even Pinterest can be an opportunity here, depending on the audience's preference.
Can I just give you a little minute?
Just depending on audience's preferences. So if they, you can find the weirdest data. You could talk to your customers and be like, what do you do every time you leave here? And they're like, go to Target. And you know, and then maybe that's what you need to target is people who like to go to this Target, you know? And that's where they're all at.
No, I agree. When I started using Facebook marketing a lot, I got to know my customer very down to a science. And I couldn't see like what they shop, what they like, a lot of Kim Kardashian. Yeah, so I was able to see exactly who they were and what they liked, and I was able to provide that service. You're exactly right with that. That's amazing.
Yes, so the more data you collect, the more you can use it in your marketing. But again, there needs to be a time where you review it, and there needs to be a time where you utilize it and brainstorm with it. So it's not like just collecting, you have this, you have cool, great. No, and you need to make time for it.
That could have been said even more clearly. Amazing. What are some no-nos or do-nots in marketing for anybody who's has a company?
I think there is a couple ways to market, right? There's marketing with fear, there's marketing with negativity, and there's positivity, right? So there's a lot of time where people put fear as their marketing tactic. Like for example, they show what it could look like if you go to somebody who messes up things for you, right? So, or they show, you know, just scary things that could happen to them with a procedure or whatever. Like I can't think of like a particular example for this industry.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you said the best tips or?
So some of the no, so some of those do not, the do not.
Oh, do not.
Like the one you should be like, you should stay away from that.
I think manipulation and fear.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So really showing the consumer, hey, this is what's gonna happen. Like in this industry, a lot of people are scared of like nose jobs going, liquid or rhinoplasties going wrong, vascular occlusions when the blood goes back into the needle and they hit a vessel, things like that. So don't show those type of things.
I think it's important to understand those things because those are risks, and especially in medical place, you want to voice them, but not in the front lines, right? You don't want to start with that. You don't want that to be your story. And I think another no-no is talking bad about your competitors. I think that you cannot compare yourself to others and just really stay away from that and try to tell your story, not by I'm better than them, but more of like I'm unique in a way.
I like that. I like that a lot because so many companies are comparing themselves. We hear all the time, there's so many med spas in town, we'll never be the best, we'll never do this. But it's really about having uniqueness about you, having that story about you, making people want to connect to you.
Right, you don't want to get them thinking about your competitors or the experience they had there. You want to tell them what's unique about this experience and either buy into it or not.
Okay, nice, nice. Now I know you work for so many different industries, right? What is your favorite industry to work in?
I like all the industries.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just love marketing. So I think for me, I like the challenge of telling that story and figuring out what it is, what resonates, and continue testing different things. So the more I can learn about the customer, I don't think I can say that there's like my favorite and least favorite, but I definitely enjoy them more. I do tend to like industries that I'm personally have interest in, right? So I think I have a lot of interest in the aesthetic space. I have interest in the healthcare space now, you know, in the technology space, and then I also love online shopping. So I'm definitely, I love the product, I would love marketing it.
Nice, nice. So back to like people like Kim K, right? Why is she such a marketing genius? Like, why does her stuff, besides her being very beautiful, why does her stuff go so crazy compared to everybody else's?
Well, I think her content output and consistency, just think about how much content she going on, what was it, 8 years?
Yeah.
Like every single week and just tuning in for 40 minutes into someone else's life. And I'm sure there's ways that this show was produced that was definitely benefiting her in a way, in a financial way, where there was some tactics I'm sure used that were meant to convince or meant to, you know, believe or have a certain worldview or certain belief, you know, for certain people to be interested in things. So I think content output and then her way of creating buzz around things. I think she's really good at creating buzz, and I think there's no bad PR or there's no bad marketing, and she's always wherever she can get the most attention, she's there. So, and marketing is about attention because we're constantly buying attention everywhere. What do you do when you run Facebook ads? You're buying attention. What do you do when you run Google ads? You're buying attention. If she can figure out a way to get a lot of attention at the same time and pretty much like ride on some event or something that happened to drive attention to her, she'll do it.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. You know, people want to know what's going on next. They're interested, invested in the story.
Yeah.
You know, how can I see this? Like, what's going on? So,
yeah,
definitely. Is there any publications or any journals or anything that people can follow, maybe even podcasts, people can follow that are interested in marketing?
Yeah, so there are some cool, there's this website called Social Media Examiner, and they also have a podcast, which I love following. They really make it simple in the way that they talk about, they bring a lot of guests, so that's one of my favorite podcasts. I think another one is really being part of groups on Facebook. Like if you can find good marketing groups, that's really valuable because you can ask questions. There's a lot of marketers on there, and you can really network and things like that. Definitely find there's a lot of marketers out there. I would say the industry has somewhat of a bad rep because everybody can give you advice, but not everybody can execute and really put their money where their mouth is and say, if I don't provide the result, yeah, I'm not going to get paid. There are very few people out there, but I think it's important to be able to weed them out. So when you listen to enough of the marketing stuff, you can really start to understand it yourself and you can weed that stuff out, because a lot of the times they hype it and pitch you in a way that sounds very interesting, but it really is the same product or the same service. It's just the way they're selling it.
That's a really good point also. What's a good marketing budget for someone that is new? You know, a lot of companies I speak to, they want thousands of dollars starting off to have a budget. Is that where you need to start, or is there start like a sweet spot almost?
So marketing budget really depends on your sales, projections. So if you're planning to make $1 million this year, you need to spend accordingly.
Gotcha.
You can't make $1 million by spending a couple $1,000 a year, right? So I think that it comes from creating sales projection first, understanding your pricing, understanding the revenue that you make on each service, and then marketing accordingly. So if this is the service that brings me the more revenue, but I can't directly market it on social platforms because it has restrictions, maybe you can start with a service that's similar to that service but not direct, and then upsell to that once somebody comes in, right? So it's just creating that strategy, but your budget is what you can afford. What you can afford to spend. It doesn't mean that you need to go out of your comfort zone and just like spend all your money on marketing and go in debt for it. No, I think you need to understand that this is an investment. It's going to require consistency, just like anything else you do in life, right? You don't go to the gym and get fit after one day. You go to the gym for a year just to see a little bit of results. Same thing with marketing. You are going to invest first, and not maybe, especially when you're first starting out, maybe not see as much of a result. If you consistently continue doing it in a way where it's not like, feels like, oh, this is so expensive and I'm going in debt for it, you're going to continue to invest in it. So a lot of people are like, oh, we don't do marketing anymore because it was too expensive and we weren't getting any results. Like, I don't think it's the right way to think. Marketing is important, so if you just need to find the right person who can do it for you, or you gotta figure out how to do it, and understand your revenue, and then say, okay, if I'm making X amount of this service, and I can offer this, I can, for example, max my calendar out, and I can take 20, 30 clients a month. This is what I'm projecting to make. How can I get those 30 clients from social media? How much am I willing to spend, and how much am I willing to take in revenue, right? So if you're at this one point is where you're calculating your budget.
Nice. That's a very good point. Like, you can't expect to make all this crazy money and then not put in this amount of money. So you gotta put in the X to get the Y.
Yeah, and you're either putting in money or you're putting in time. Marketing, right? There's ways to grow organically. There are people who have a following. There's networking. It's like, am I going to spend 10 hours a month marketing or growing my audience? Or am I going to spend it on ads, right? My money on ads and then hire somebody else, right? So you just need to understand that it's time and money in the game, either pick both or understand that one or the other is going to take. It's either going to take a lot of money or a lot of time, or even both in some cases, depending on your goals.
What are your views on outsourced marketing versus someone in-house?
I think that there are some great companies that can help you scale with marketing, and there are some that are not great. I think a lot of it comes in the management of that company. Who's managing? A lot of people hire, like especially like small businesses, they hire a company, they're like, okay, great, we need results, and they don't talk to them until next month. They're like, we don't have any results, what's going on? Why isn't it working? So the marketing company needs a point of contact in-house, right? So they need to be able to talk to somebody because they're not in there, they're not there every day. And they're not hired to be there every day, they don't get paid to be there every day. So it's either you, right, who is going to manage that company and communicate with them on a daily basis, communicate what you want, your expectations, content, your story, and getting them to understand your brand. Or you hire somebody in-house. Some people are like, why would I hire a marketer in-house and outsource it if I have them in-house, right? Of course you can have a person in-house do everything, but if that person is just at least part of their job is to manage that agency, you're going to see a better result, especially if they communicate properly your brand, what you want from them, what you're looking for, what you want to do, the goals and things like that.
Great, great. What about PR and marketing? PR and media. How important is that to a company?
So I think all of the strategies are important, right? So it just depends on what route you want to go, right? Gotcha. I think if you are a brand new clinic that is offering some unique service that's different, then I think it's worth it to pay PR to create some buzz around it. Like what I mentioned before with my titty baby, I won't give it up. Like if it's the thing, like you gotta like release that article. But if you're just a regular med spa and you don't have such a big budget, or like a plastic surgery office, or you have a different value prop than being like, oh, X, Y, and Z plastic surgery is opening in Miami, like that's not news, right? So you don't want to pay for that kind of PR.
Yeah, no, definitely. You want to have that niche. There's something special about you. You have this, and the PR comes into
So that's where the buzz, right? So can you create that buzz around what you do?
Like the Salt Bay guy.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't do anything different than you might be doing in your kitchen. He's just doing the wristing. So it's like that's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, talking a lot about marketing, especially in the aesthetic industry and in all industries. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you have planned next.
So you can find me on my Instagram, 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐿, so it's with an X, and then you can put that on.
Yes, for sure.
Also I'm on LinkedIn, I'm very active on my social media, and my plan this year is to really help influencers, industry experts to scale their social media and launch a product. So this is what I really do. I help people create their brand identity, create their marketing positioning, and reveal all what we talked about, all the uniqueness and juices out of their personality, and put it into a product and sell it to their audience. So that's what I do.
Is there requirements for someone that's interested? They might have to have certain things to get in contact?
Yeah, so there's no requirements, but I can't take like a lot of people at the same time because obviously it's very time consuming. But I do take one new client a month, and so the only requirement is just to have an existing audience, whether it's an email list of at least 500 people or reach in stories of at least 1,000 people.
Wow, amazing. So right now you heard that if you have a product, content, something, and you're looking to launch and looking for some assistance, reach out in her DMs. I'm going to tag her information below and on my Instagram. Hopefully she can help you out.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Until next time.